1380 AM, 95.1 FM, KCIM. It's Sports Rewind time. We got the sports crew in here, fresh off their. What do we call it? Your victory tour of the state track meet?
Sure, if that's what you want to.
Sure. Why not? Casey, how was it? Was that your first track meet or second?
That was my first state track. Yeah,
Okay.
and it was good. You know, it's a state event. I think when you go to any state event, you know, they're ran well and they're good for the kids to see all the kids compete, not even just our athletes. So, you know, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, you also had great weather too. It says there's been some pretty miserable years, Blank, that you've spent down that track.
Yeah, there has, and you know, it's amazing. With I was just talking with Tony Conkler, the Audubon boys track coach, and you know, they lost meets as everybody this year to the wind and the rain and the cold weathers and everything that we had all spring long. And then you get down to the state track meet, and I think the coolest day was probably low 80s and sun. So
Yeah.
Friday and Saturday was hot. It was hot, and with, you know, being on the turf field and everything.
Who actually got the most track meets in? Like there wasn't that many.
I would say Audubon did. I didn't realize this. In talking to Coach Conkler, he said if you counted their indoor meets that they went to at the beginning of the year, they actually got 8 of the 10 meets they were scheduled in. I know there was a few schools, you know, they got like 3 or 4 meets in before district, or, you know, and stuff like that. I think South Central Calhoun had 3 meets prior to, you know, the district meet. So, yeah, it's crazy to see, you know, how weather can impact, but it certainly did. But it turned out it was amazing how many kids said, oh, it's so hot, but I would rather run in this than what we ran in all season. It was kind of the follow-up to what they, you know, they didn't even really pause. It was kind of just a continuation of the sentence they were saying.
Well, and I think you saw the heat affect the kids too, because they weren't used to running in this type of weather. You know, when you get used to running in cold and windy, you know, you get used to that. But you know, you saw the heat affecting kids, you know, down at state track too.
Yeah, and then
So did you see times go down?
Oh yeah. We saw times go down. It was great for kids to run. Like I think Thursday, you know, was a bunch of they just kept calling out a bunch of records that were broken. You know,
if I remember the numbers correctly, 19 state records broken.
Oh, wow.
38 kids that competed down there at the state meet were now ranked in the top 25 or something like that in the nation and stuff, not just here in the state of Iowa, but 38 different events got ranked in the nation in the top 15 or top 25, something like that. So, yeah, it's that way. I told him on the way down, it's probably, and even though I love all the other sports, state track, there's something about it. It's fun, and it might be my favorite event to cover as far as a state event, simply because you see stuff like that every year. I forget exactly which school it was, but there's never been a girls 4x800 team in state history that went under 9 minutes, and you had a girls team this year that went under 9. So you look at that, every single one of the girls had to have run at least at an average under a 2:15, and it was credible. I think they broke the state record by like 18, 19 seconds.
Yeah, it was just phenomenal weather throughout the run of the state track. I mean, you guys were sending back pictures that cracked me up because there was the 4 of you standing on the track. So I immediately posted, it's a white legs competition, folks. Put your vote in now.
KC won.
Yeah, I did. My legs were white. They still are.
Storyahan was the first one to say that Casey and Nick were in the finals.
Yep.
White legs competition. So that was kind of funny.
Jeff started taking pictures of us as a group 2 or 3 years ago, and it's kind of turned into every morning it's like, okay, everybody meet at a certain spot at a time, and then we're going to take the group picture. And you can always tell if you look at the pictures, Casey and I are the 2 most uncomfortable people getting our picture taken ever, because neither one of us, I don't know how to smile, I don't know how to stand, I'm just so uncomfortable in pictures.
But you do have many Nebraska bucket hats, from what I can tell. You had a different one on every single day, I think.
Yes, yeah. So, and I jokingly said this year when somebody said, you're wearing a red one today, and I says, yeah, I says, I'm just debating. I says, depending on how many kids we qualify for finals, I said Saturday I'll have my Tiger Woods red hat, on and stuff. So
Final day red. Yep. So, right. But so I thank Rachel Judish and her family for one of them, and Jeff Storyhan and Cherry for the other one. So they've gotten me. They're the ones that have bought me the bucket Nebraska hats that I get to wear at state track. So don't be encouraging him, people. Do not be encouraging him. How about a trivia question for the morning?
Okay.
We're going to talk football transfers for college. There are 134 FBS football programs. Only 4 of them do not take transfers. 4. We're going to name all 4 of them here coming up in just a bit. So think about that for a moment.
I think I know one.
I think I know. One should be a powerhouse.
Yeah.
I think you're on the right track there.
Yeah.
So there's your trivia question of the morning. I'm going to throw this in my least favorite sports person of the week. I'm going big time. I'm going with the whole Minnesota Twins team. These idiots.
They frustrated you?
Oh, good Lord. First of all, they lost 5 in a row.
Right.
And then they turned around, won 12 in a row.
Okay.
So, I mean, they bounced back nicely. They won 17 out of 20 in one stretch.
Okay.
Now, they've lost 7 in a row again.
So that means they're going to go back on a winning streak.
It just is so infuriating to be a Twins fan these days. You never know. I mean, granted, yeah, they have injuries like everybody else, but to lose 5, then to win 12, and then 17 out of 20, and then to lose 7 in a row, you have no idea what to make of this team.
Where are they at in the division right now?
They're trailing even Kansas City.
Wow.
The Royals have been surprising.
Have been playing well, though. Yeah.
They have been very, very good.
And careful, Keith Wagner is a huge Royals fan. He talks Royals baseball with me quite often.
I will talk smack about the Royals anytime I want. Keith Wagner, you bring it on, man. I'm telling you, the Twins will finish ahead of the Royals.
Yes.
I can't guarantee the Cleveland Guardians, though.
Right.
Because they came out of nowhere, too. They all of a sudden, like that division's not that horrible anymore.
Especially with the manager that's never managed before.
Right.
Stephen Vogt, just kind of retired and was like, hey, you want to be our manager? Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I got a guy on the other line with a set of white balls. Wasn't it? That was the line in Major League.
Yes, it was.
They were trying to hire the manager.
Yep, trying to hire the manager.
Shop.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's my least favorite sports person of the week.
Okay.
We're going to do our top 5 here coming up, but give me more impressions from the state track meet. What kids went down there and did really well?
Well, the kids that we'll throw out names in the top 5, so we'll hold off on those for just a second. But
give me the honorable mention, then we'll get to the top 5.
Okay.
I think Ben Gurkin and Andrea Anderson in the high jump. I think we had a very successful. You look at all of our classes. From 1A to 3A, high jump was very successful for us.
Yes, it was.
I think out of the 4, 5, 6 kids,
right?
I think I got to count them in my brain. I think out of the 6 kids, 5 of them finished in the top 5.
Yep.
So
it was by far our best sport.
I think we had 5 kids. 5 kids, 4 finished in the top 5. So, that was by far our best event down there.
Yeah, and in talking to Coach Conkler again this morning, 3 of their relays set PRs. Mm-hmm. That's the really cool thing is you see, a ton of PRs. The Carroll girls 4x400 takes 3rd in the prelims and then finishes 5th overall, and just so many good performances. Even kids that maybe didn't finish, maybe finished 15th or 16th were setting PRs.
Chloe Judish seeded 24th going into the 1500, finishes 13th.
Yep. And wasn't happy.
So I just think a lot of the kids that were seeded low, I felt like, exceeded expectations that were down there.
You can't beat that, right?
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So that's actually very outstanding.
I mean, how many interviews did we did, and the girls or the boys were like, I didn't think we were going to win or make finals, but we just wanted to run better, and it turns out they ran a PR and finished 10 spots better than what they came in seeded.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what we should have done was the top 5 video interviews.
Oh, maybe we'll do that one next week.
Which kids love the interviews and which ones shy away from it?
Well, I will tell you that Coach Conkler just told me that the boys were pulling up the video interviews by the time they got into the vehicle to drive back to the hotel afterwards. So they were. He said they critique themselves and they figure out what they need to do better in their interviews.
I think we had the kids trained too when we got down there because by the end, I think halfway through Friday, I didn't have to ask them to have their arms crossed behind their backs. They just kind of stood there and
everybody
waited for their
knows
picture.
how to stand, and yeah. You don't even hardly have to go to them and say, "Hey, I want an interview." You just stand over there 10 feet away from them and 15 feet away, and they look at you and nod when they're done, like, "Yeah, I'll come over as soon as I'm ready." You don't have to say anything. So,
I'll be there. So, all right, what do you say we get to it? Here's the top 5 list for this week.
Okay.
Now on with the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It is the top 5 moments or events. What do we call them?
Top 5 performances.
Performances. There we go.
Yes.
For the state track meet down recently held in Des Moines. So, all right. Number 5. What do you got for us?
We're going to go Evan Adams probably in that spot. And these aren't like in any number 1's probably going to be number 1.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I know which that one is. But Evan, talk about his performance.
I just think he's just been dominant in the discus all year. Yep. I seeded second. Have high expectations. Finished 4th. I mean, it's still kind of bumming that you didn't, because I talked to him after and he said, like, I came in expecting to win. He's been throwing in the 180s, most of the year, and threw like a 160 something, was his.
If I remember right, his first throw, I know you were over covering, but I came over and kind of watched him early before I had to go back over and watch runners. He had his first throw that I think was cranked out there, but it ended up being a scratch. So he might have had a 180 on one throw, but it ended up being a scratch.
Yeah.
So number 5 was Evan Adams. All right. Number 4, best performance of the state track meet is?
We'll go with the Ike Manning boys 4x200. Set a new school record, finishing 6th place with Jace Luth, Davis Rasmussen, Abe Polzine, and Ross Kuzel. And Ross had 4 events all in the same day. I know that they usually have that in an actual track meet, but with as warm as it was, to be able to go out and perform
and it's
the
a
way
little
he did.
different too, because he had the high jump, and then he ran right away, I think, in the distance med, and then was it 4x1?
Yep.
And then 4x2. But it's like in one track meet, when you got your events, like, you could be waiting hours.
Right.
You could be going from warm to ready, ready to go, and then I'm sitting for a couple hours, and then you got to get in that mindset. I think at a regular track meet, you may have a couple events in, so you stay warm. I think at the state track meet, when you might have a couple hours between events, it's hard to stay focused and stay warm.
Boy, I think that'd be interesting to find out what events, if they could place them themselves, which ones do you want to run first so you have the most energy later in the day?
Right, yeah.
That would be interesting.
It would be interesting to have a conversation, especially those kids that are in 4. But yeah, Ike Manning boys 4x200 again, finished 6th, but set a new school record, and that's a perfect place to do it.
All right. What are we on? Number 3, best performance at the state track meet.
Number 3, what a battle they had. But Colby Culbertson from Coon Rapids Bayard got 6'5", set a PR in the high jump down there.
If I'm not mistaken, it might have been a school record, too.
I think it was.
I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, finished in 3rd place and stuff. But what a battle. It was him and the next guy on our list, and we'll tell his name here in a moment. And then the young man from ACGC,
who I don't think started jumping until 6'3".
Yes.
Like he just held off, and as soon as I got to 6'3", cleared it easily.
Yeah. And he went on to win. We were doing the interview, so I didn't catch what he went out.
I think he went out at like 6'7" or something like that.
So, but you have 3 guys all clear 6'5".
The top 3 in the 1A boys high jump all came from the same district.
Same state qualifying meet. So those 3 jumped against each other to go to the state meet. Yeah. So,
wow. And they finished top 3.
They finished the top 3. Yep.
Wow. Number 2, what do we got for best performance state track meet?
He's just a freshman, so no pressure. But Trayvon Keeley with Peyton Sheridan took 2nd, got 6'5", school record PR for him, in the high jump in that same event. So
just a freshman.
Just a freshman. He's going to be scary good.
Yeah, and I was talking to Corey, and I asked him. I said, you can look at middle school numbers and see what a kid's jumping, and I said, did you think that he'd be here, seated 2nd with a chance to win a state championship as a freshman? He said no.
Right.
You can only look at middle school numbers and maybe project on what a kid can do in high school, but he just showed how super athletic he is down there at the state track meet.
But they normally project you as a senior. I mean, not as your next year as a freshman, man.
Yeah.
You're doing that well.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And he even said in his interview with me that consistency is what he needed. He goes, if you look at it, Jeff, he said, throughout the year there were days I went out at 6 foot, there was days I went out at 5'10". He said, I just found the consistency late in the season, which allowed him to kind of soar to where he was at, and that's the potential that he had, that he finally reached there, on a consistent basis at the end of the season.
Well, it shows that, with all the probably scratch track meets, things like that, how good would he have been had he gotten all those in and gotten more consistent even earlier?
And considering Peyton Sheridan doesn't have a track, so they don't have a high jump hit, which means
he's doing a lot of the work in the gym.
In the gym, he's jumping in the gym. Yeah,
that is 2 strikes against you right there, and he did phenomenally well. All right, so we are on to, let's see, the number 1 top performance, and I think I can probably guess what this one is, but go ahead and say it anyway.
Marie Day, just in general. Obviously she won the state title in the 800, but finishing 5th in the 4x4, and then I think it was 5th in the 400. So you get 3 top 5 finishes in all 3 events that you're in down there. I think is pretty incredible.
And to dominate the 800 the way she did, she should have been in section 2, running with the faster, paced girls. But somehow she was in
section 1.
In section 1,
and was out by 50 meters from the jump.
She wasn't pushed the entire time. She jumped out in front of everybody and ran away from the crowd from the start of the race. So to go out and win the state championship out of Section 1 when there's nobody running anywhere close to you just tells you how incredible of a feat it was. And I was going to say this to her down there even before she won that 800, but I've had the pleasure of being here 20 years and covering some great ones, the Danny Stipes, the Miles Rue Pipers, and some of those kids that just have dominated. She may not come away with as many state titles as they do, but 20 years from now when people ask me about the track greats that I've covered, Marie Day is going to be in that because, man, when she runs, she attacks
it's so smooth
every single race, and it's just there's not an ounce of energy that's not exuded from her in every single race. And she is just a joy to watch run.
I think she'll go up to Northwest Missouri State and have good success.
Agreed.
No doubt about that. But talk about that heat, because it is really hard to run a great race when you've got nobody next to you. Nobody's pushing you.
That's a mental thing. It's I'm out running by myself every day, and I'm pushing myself every day. And she works out every day in the off season, and I'm sure that part of it is she's just gotten used to kind of running by herself and pushing herself to get to a certain level, and I think that's where it came from.
Boy, I tell you what, there were some real big highlights, but I tell you, Nick did a phenomenal job keeping us updated here on the air. But you got to go back and check out the photos from Jeff Storyhan.
Yes.
The picture of Marie Day, the Day or Dre?
Day.
Right?
Yep.
Just kind of bent over, the emotions kind of overcoming her as she realized, I'm a state champion.
Yeah, and Jeff even said it, him being a photographer and doing such a great job. I didn't think about it, but she ran in the first one, so she's literally sitting on the ground watching the second one go. He said, that was a great picture. I don't know if he liked the water cup in it or not, but, the water cup was sitting there. But you imagine the emotion that he would have been able to get if she'd have been in Section 2 and won it, and he'd have been able to get the pictures of her crossing the finish line as a state champion. So I think he did an amazing job, as he always does, getting the emotion that she was able to show having won it out of the first section. Yeah. But, it would have been a better, really cool story if she'd have been in Section 2 as well.
And I think it's just crazy because after she ran a 2:13 in the 800, and Jeff came over and said, hey, we might have a state champion. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, she might, and then I see the union guys kind of come over and say, hey, there's Marie Day, get your flag ready in case. I'm like, okay, so she must have ran pretty good. And then turns out I think the second place girl ran a 2:15, so Marie beat her by 2 seconds.
Yeah.
It was a great race to watch.
Yeah, and a really terrific young lady.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So that kind of puts a wrap on the 2024 track season. As short as it was, it seemed like anyway.
It did. It went fast. That is for sure.
So that's once again, you can look up all that information. Now tell us where it's all located at. So if somebody wants to go back, look at the photos and see some of the results, some of the video interviews you guys did, that's all still available.
It is. So the photo galleries, you can go to CB Sports Network, and on the features drop-down menu, you'll find one that's labeled like Mackey Motors Picture Gallery or Photo Gallery or something like that, and you can click on that and get all the pictures, or go to the CB Sports Network Facebook page or the Jeannie Kirchhoff Facebook page. They're all available there. As far as the results, you can go to the CB Sports Network website. You can click on either boys track or girls track. So go to the sports drop-down menu and click on either boys track or girls track, and it'll take you there. I think the photos are all available on the boys track and girls track pages as well. And then for the video interviews, probably the easiest way to do it is go to either the results thing that Nick did, because he was uploading our video interviews to there, or go to the CB Sports Network YouTube channel and just search for the young person's name who you're looking for, and you'll be able to find them that way.
Yeah, a lot of interviews, a lot of results going on, a lot of fun. The 3-day run of the state track meet in the books for 2024. We're going to continue on with more Sports Rewind in just moments.
As the athletes at your house prepare for hard work and fun of the season, remember that St. Anthony Rehab Services provides physical therapy for any sports injury that may sideline your member of the team. Sports injuries can plague kids of all ages and keep them from playing the sport they love. Athletes will be under the direct supervision of a certified and licensed healthcare professional in the newly renovated sports performance facility. If an injury is keeping your athlete out of the game, call St. Anthony Rehabilitation Services at 794-5000 for sports injury and treatment rehab.
You're listening to KCIM Sports Rewind. It's John Ryan, Jeff Blankman, and Casey Miners with you. And, of course, What's going on here?
Oh,
it's like you guys are passing notes in class.
I'll tell you off air. I don't want to say this one on air.
It's one of those kind of text messages.
You'll understand afterwards.
So let's talk about another postseason going on here for the spring. What do we got coming up over the next few days, or hope to get in for the next few days anyway?
Well, we're hoping to get day 2 of the state boys golf meet. The Kemper boys right now 10 strokes out of first place. Kind of a jam of teams. You got Beckman Catholic sitting in first.
It looks like Beckman Catholic just kind of dominated yesterday.
They did. It was kind of interesting because early on they had 4 of the top 7 kids, but at the end of the day they had the number 1 kid. Then their next 2 kids were tied for 16th and stuff. But they're 1 stroke in front of the second place team. So you got the top 4 teams are all within 4 strokes. So it's 1 stroke for 1 stroke lead over second place, 2 stroke lead over third place, and 3 stroke lead over the fourth place team for Beckman Catholic. And then Kemper sits 10 out, which means they're still in it if they can get that thing in today and stuff. And I'm hoping to head over that way at some point here today. That's the plan, is to try and get over there and cover that in case they do get it in and make a run. But Maverick Schwabe sitting in 11th. Carter Putney and Braxton Vanami, I think we're sitting in a tie for 22nd, if I remember correctly. But Coldwater's kind of a different course, and if you haven't played it before and played it a lot, it can jump up and bite you a little bit. But I think they're going to be in okay shape to make a run today. Like I said, weather dependent, and if they can get it in. You've got Mason Reichs with the Kemper boys tennis team. They were supposed to start state tennis today, but the state announced yesterday that they knew this was going to happen. They pushed it back. So state boys tennis now for individuals is going to be tomorrow and Thursday for the singles and doubles tournament. So he'll play his opening round coming up tomorrow morning.
And does that take place in Des Moines? Or
it's up in Waterloo at Byrne Park. I've been up there several times over the years. Not for sure if I'll make it this year with everything else going on. And then Kaylee Simons from the Kemper girls tennis team is going to be down in Iowa City later on this week, Friday and Saturday, with her singles tournament and stuff for the state meet down there. And both of them tough opening round matches. Mason is going to be seeded 15th and taking on the 2 seed. Kaylee's kind of an interesting one. She's their number 1. For Kemper has played to their number 1 singles all year. They played Cedar Rapids Xavier on Saturday to try and move into the semifinals. They were in the quarters at the state team tennis tournament and ended up losing 5-0 to Xavier. She lost 2-0 to the number 1 girl from Xavier, but the number 5 girl from Xavier also made the state tournament as a singles, and that's who she's getting in the opening round. So they like her matchup. Just talked to Rusty Wintermote this morning, and they like her matchup and her a chance to be able to get through. I think the key thing for her is just not going to be nervous. She's really competitive, and she's going to make you work for everything you get. But first trip ever to the state tournament, so hopefully there's no nerves there. Yeah,
I played a lot of tennis when I was a kid, and when you're jacked up like that, ready for a match, it's easy to try to overhit everything and wind up having just things cave in on you.
Yeah, but
so controlling that and just controlling your stroke.
If you've ever seen her play libero on the volleyball team and the way she's all over the floor and diving and hustling and sprinting everywhere, that's the exact same way she plays tennis. So you're going to have to beat her and stuff, because you're going to have to make shots to beat her. Let's say that. She's not going to let you beat her by just kind of lofting things over the court. So,
how about soccer?
Congrats goes out to Gary McGill and the Carroll boys soccer team. Picked up a 2-1 come from behind victory. Chase Regaller with 2 goals in the second half last night. Oh, the last one, I think 3:38 remaining.
Yeah, right as the game was winding down.
Yep, and stuff to beat Harlan, a team they had lost to earlier this season. So first ever trip for Carroll boys soccer to the sub-state. They're going to run into a tough one. They've got Glenwood, who beat Creston 11-1 last night and stuff, and they have to head down there on Wednesday night. So, got a shot, and Coach McGill's been telling me that, they hadn't been picking up wins late in the season, but he was seeing things kind of change and start to turn in the right direction, and I think that all came to fruition last night as they were able to pick up the win.
So when is their sub-state?
Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, they'll be down at Glenwood. And then we've got Kemper girls golf, going to be golfing in the state tournament coming up later on this week.
Addie Bell.
And Addie Bell from Glidden Ralston.
I think both those start Thursday, Friday.
Yep, they're Thursday, Friday. If I remember right, Kemper girls are at Ames.
They might be in Ames at Coldwater.
But no, not at Coldwater. It would be the Country Club, I think. I'll double check that on the schedule.
And then I know that Addie's up at
over at Marshalltown at the American Legion course.
Yep.
So, but I'll let me pull up the week schedule here, and I'll scroll down and find where they're at. Nope, Cedar Point Golf Course is where the Kemper girls are at. So they're over in Boone this year. A lot of times they end up at the Country Club, that course that's just kind of north of Ames, between Ames and Gilbert. So,
are they familiar with that course? Have they played it before?
I would assume that they're going to be familiar. And even if they hadn't golfed it, one of the nice things is that when you make state, you get that opportunity as a player to go play the course that the state meet is on ahead of time and stuff, and you're allowed to be able to do that. So they probably got over there sometime this weekend, I'm guessing, and got a round in, or maybe 2 rounds in, to try and get ready to go.
All right, let's talk a little baseball, softball, because that season is off. Last week started, in fact, before even the state track meet, which is interesting with all the kids that were gone for the state track meet and all that. So you had that to deal with. Now this week you're dealing with weather. It's kind of like the first 2 weeks of the season. It's just up and down for a lot of teams.
It is, and I'm guessing that almost everything at some point today will probably be postponed or canceled. But ESAC girls soccer also playing tonight as well. Don't want to forget them. They're at Heelan tonight for a chance to go to state there as well. I hate to bring it up. Probably the one surprising thing, Coon Rapids Bear baseball was preseason number 1, and they have a loaded schedule, especially early in the year. Everybody that's good wanted to play Coon this year, and they're sitting 1-3 to start the season. So they've had kids at track and golf and stuff. So they're going to be fine. I said this a lot last year when Kemper got off to a slow start. Don't panic. Everything will be fine. It's going to be the same thing. You got John Waddle, and you've got some great players down there. That program's going to be fine. But sitting 1-3 right now, I'm sure they're kind of shaking their head.
Yeah, and I think in 2 of the losses, blown leads.
Yes.
That may be the more concerning thing for John Waddle. But I'm sure he loves the schedule, and he has no problem with where they're at right now, judging from the competition they've been playing so far.
Yeah, but to lose a couple of them late like that, we're talking 7th inning, lead slipping away. Those are the type of things that probably do make him a little nervous. Kemper got a nice bounce back after losing to Des Moines Christian and stuff. They beat Trainer. Audubon struggling a little early, but a lot of kids.
Yeah, and I think you saw a little improvement last night. I think Aaron Olson pitched well. They came up with 5 hits in the game. Still looking to score their first run of the season, and I think it'll come.
It will.
When you got a new coach that's coached softball for 20-some years, and now he's the baseball coach, it takes some adjustment.
You bet. And then you saw ICAM Manning got a nice win a week ago against Glidden to open up the season. Glidden fell last night as well. Baseball.
Okay.
So softball didn't start until last night. So that last night was our first softball games of the area. Glidden Ralston got a nice win. Jalen Subert had a couple of home runs in the game last night.
Struck out 14.
Yep. I had a 2-run home run, a 3-run home run, and then went a complete game in the circle, striking out 14.
I talking to Sean at their media days. He was really excited to see Jalen in the circle, and I think that kind of showed last night. He said that, when you have Vanessa Kaler for 3 years pitch in the pitching circle, most teams get used to her and don't know what you have. And he said that she could be a dark horse for him, and kind of showed last night against Madrid.
And then Audubon took a loss last night, but you and I both really liked this Audubon softball team. They ended up losing 5-3, gave up 5 runs in the first 2 innings to 7th-ranked Earlham, who's a traditional power, but kind of settled in after that. You saw the defense play better. Michelle Brooks had a couple of nice dive-in catches. I teased her after the game. I said, have you ever heard of Mike Schmidt and an issue? I knew the answer before I said it, but she's like, no. And I'm like, he was a great defensive third baseman, but I said he retired in the 80s, so it's okay if you don't know him. But she made a couple of great defensive plays. I thought Riley Miller came in and pitched really well. Maddie Nielsen did Maddie Nielsen things and crushed one for a 2-run home run.
No doubt. The minute she hit it, I was like, that's gone.
You didn't even have to follow the ball. Once it came off the bat, you knew it was gone. And then Jordan Porsche had a nice night at the plate. I think they're going to be really, really good as the season goes on. But kind of a buzzsaw of a team to run into that first game of the year.
But also a good test.
Yes.
To see where you're at, because, Audubon's going to be playing 2A now. Because you have the Exira kids with you. And, it was a really good test, because that could be a team you could see later on down on the road for a chance to go to state or a second round matchup.
Yep. So and everybody else kind of struggled last night with the first game. And ESAC's game tonight got moved to tomorrow night, not because of the rain, but because their soccer team is playing. And speaking of ESAC, got to give a shout out. One of our coaches, Eric McCullough, celebrating a birthday today. So
I was going to mention that just as we were kind of wrapping up here. So.
Yeah. So I called him a young man in a text this morning. Whether or not he agrees with that, we don't know.
Yeah, maybe we should ask his wife.
Yes.
Should she say he's still young?
I would say Angie would say no.
You can tell he's a coach. He's pulled out his hair a long time ago.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's talk about our trivia question. All right, there's 4 NCAA FBS football programs that do not accept transfers. Give me the 4. What do you think?
I'm going to say Clemson.
Clemson's one.
Because Dabo Sweeney's completely against it.
Yep, and guess that. I mean, check this out. The stats. Clemson program from 2015 to 2019, they went 69-5.
Right.
2 national championships. They continue to sit out the transfer portal and era and none of this. The last 3 years, they've gone, 30-10.
Yeah.
So and they kind of dropped off the national power map.
They have.
So because his refusal to deal with the transfer portal is really costing Clemson, and you wonder how long that school is going to say, okay, Dabo, you just do what you need to do.
Yeah. And I know he got frustrated towards the end of last season and kind of went off on a reporter who asked him about it and left him have his thoughts. And I mean, he built it. I mean, they were not a power and not an elite program when he got there, and they became one under him. So we'll see if he can figure things out through this transfer portal
coaches
era.
adapt and change.
They do. Even Kirk Ferentz has.
If you want to stay relevant, you're going to have to get in the transfer portal. And just his refusal is just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that kids out of the transfer portal won't want to come play for Clemson.
Right. Absolutely. Maybe not right now.
Yeah.
But
I mean, do they even have the money, the NIL built
I'm
around
sure,
that?
I'm sure they have
to.
Yeah, I'm sure they've got NIL, and at some point they'll have to. At some point they're going to have to get into the transfer portal and probably accept it. I understand that, programs like that, sometimes even like Alabama doesn't take a ton of transfers. They do take some, but they don't need to. Yeah, and stuff like that under Nick Saban. So Georgia doesn't take a ton, when you're recruiting 5 stars, but Ohio State went out this year and bought themselves, a national championship caliber team. Matt Fischbach, if you're listening, that's a shout out to you. But yes. I'm going to guess the other 3.
The other 3.
Are they military schools? Is it Army, Navy, and Air Force?
Yes, that is correct, actually. Okay. So I didn't even think about that. I was thinking maybe you guys weren't thinking that direction.
Yeah, I was thinking that because it's probably so hard to get into those schools in the first place.
You don't just get into the Air Force Academy and the Naval Academy and West Point. I mean, that's something that is certainly earned by those kids. That's why I love to watch their military games throughout the year.
You should have asked what program has the most transfers and accepts the most transfers. That's Colorado.
Is it?
I guarantee you. Deion's had about 190 different kids in the 2 years that he's been there. So.
Yeah, he flushes his team every year and just kind of starts over.
And starts over. Yeah, I think they've had 40-some kids enter the portal since the end of last season and have restocked it with 30-some new kids. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he doesn't go out and recruit. He does not go out and recruit. So.
I suppose he just lets the kids come to him.
Yep.
So, that was interesting. I didn't realize that they had that many.
Yeah.
But Army, Navy, Air Force, and Clemson are the ones that don't accept any transfers. So there you have it. That is KCIM Sports Rewind for this week. Catch a podcast available of it coming up on the website here in a couple moments.